Ladies and gentlemen, lean in close. This isn't just any story. Imagine a city where the rain never stops, where every puddle reflects neon signs and secrets alike. A city where justice walks a fine line with corruption, and every dark alley holds a whisper. This story isn't about heroes. It's about a detective whose scars run deeper than the streets he walks, and a killer who turns morality into murder. What you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's a puzzle of blood, ribbon, and sin. So settle in. Because once this story begins, there's no walking away until the final shadow falls. The city's heartbeat was the rain, a steady, relentless rhythm that pulsed through cracked sidewalks and down every alleyway. Neon signs flickered overhead, casting fractured rainbows on slick asphalt. Detective Marcus Rourke stood beneath a flickering street lamp, the brim of his fedora low against the drizzle. His trench coat was soaked through, but he barely felt the cold. He'd seen too much. His partner, Officer Lena Mason, approached, clipboard in hand, her crisp uniform damp around the shoulders. Fresh from the academy, she still carried the belief that right and wrong were clear lines. Rourke knew better. In this city, every line blurred. They entered the abandoned warehouse where the body lay. Yellow tape fluttered like wounded birds, and the only sound was the drip of water from a broken pipe. The corpse was propped against a stack of crates, arms hanging lifelessly, head tilted at an impossible angle. A single crimson ribbon was tied around the victim's left wrist. No wounds, no signs of struggle, just the ribbon. Mason knelt beside the body. No blood. No weapon. Just this. She pointed at the ribbon, its deep red soaked through at one end. Rourke crouched opposite her. Signature. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. A message. They surveyed the scene. Footprints in the mud led to a side door, but outside, the rain had washed them away. Forensics arrived and began their work, but Rourke's gaze never wavered from that ribbon. Back at headquarters, they learned the victim was Alan Harper, a mid-level accountant with ties to offshore accounts rumored to launder money for powerful criminals. He'd gone missing 2 days prior. His last known location, the docks. Mason tapped her pen on the board. Greed, she suggested. He handled money. Rourke nodded. Maybe. But why a ribbon? Mason met his eyes. A calling card. He allowed a grim smile. Then let's find out what it's calling us to. 3 days later, the rain let up, just enough for the second body to be discovered in a seedy motel on the east side. The neon vacancy sign buzzed overhead, casting the room in sickly green light. Eva Delgado, a lounge singer known for her haunting voice and rumored liaisons with city officials, lay face down on the bed. Her hands were bound behind her back, and the same crimson ribbon encircled her wrists. Rourke and Mason arrived amid flashing cameras and whispered speculation. The victim's dress was soaked in wine-red stains that seeped into the white sheets. No sign of forced entry, no sign of a struggle, just a note on the pillow scrawled in elegant script, "Lust consumes." Mason photographed the note while Rourke examined the ribbon's knot. "Same dye," he murmured. "Same pattern." Mason read the note aloud. "Lust consumes." She shivered. "This is a statement." Back at headquarters, they mapped the victims on a city grid. Harper at the docks, Delgado in the motel. 2 crimes. 2 sins. If this was about morality, the next could be any of the 7 deadly sins. Rourke studied the board. Pride. Envy. Wrath. Sloth. Gluttony. Pride. Envy. He tapped each word as he spoke. He's building something. Mason added Delgado's profile. Whoever he is, he's methodical. Ritualistic. Rourke sighed. And we're on a clock. By the end of the week, 2 more victims had surfaced. A real estate mogul, his chest pinned with a golden ribbon, pride personified. A renowned chef, frozen in his own walk-in freezer, his lips stained with blue dye and a ribbon of ivory at his throat, gluttony made grotesque. The media had dubbed the killer the Shadow, and citizens locked their doors, peering into darkness as if expecting him to step from the gloom. Social media exploded with theories. Cultists, corrupt cops, revenge plots. None of it led to answers. Rourke and Mason worked in tandem. She chased down financial records, he interrogated suspects. Their precinct was a war room of photos, ribbons, notes, and maps. Every clue seemed to lead nowhere, every witness recanted. The killer was always one step ahead. Mason collapsed into her chair one night, exhaustion in her bones. "He's mocking us," she whispered. Rourke rubbed his temple. "He's not just mocking. He's teaching." She looked at him. "Teaching what?" He pointed at the board. "About sin. About consequences. But the lesson ends in death. A new note arrived the next morning. Redemption lies at the end. Mason stared at the message. Redemption. Rourke's eyes were cold. Or his final masterpiece. Between cases, Rourke haunted the city's underbelly, abandoned subway tunnels, back-alley fight clubs, illegal gambling dens. Every informant had a price. Every lead was soaked in sweat and suspicion. He carried ghosts with him. A partner lost in a botched raid, an unsolved child disappearance, promises broken in the line of duty. Mason returned home to an empty apartment, her mind replaying crime scene photos like nightmares. She studied criminal psychology texts, hoping to find patterns in madness. She couldn't sleep without checking her locks, her windows, her phone for new messages. One evening, Rourke found her at the precinct's library, surrounded by books on serial killers and moral philosophy. He slid into the chair opposite. "Still reading?" he asked. She closed a volume on the 7 deadly sins. Trying to understand him. He exhaled. "Understanding doesn't stop bullets." She met his gaze. "But understanding might save lives." Rourke nodded, a silent truce forming. They were both driven by guilt, his by failure, hers by fear. By mid-May the body count rose to 6. Envy, symbolized by a vibrant green ribbon, claimed a schoolteacher found in her classroom smeared with toxic paint. Wrath, with a fiery orange ribbon, took a judge discovered behind her bench, her gavel stained in crimson. The city's faith in law and order faltered as the killings targeted pillars of society. Rourke and Mason felt the pressure tighten like a noose. The mayor demanded results. The press hounded them for statements. Citizens barricaded themselves indoors, rumors of vigilante justice grew. Mason pored over victim profiles, motivations, schedules, last known contacts. Rourke cross-referenced crime scenes, weather patterns, CCTV blind spots, taxi logs. They met in the war room each morning, sharing fragments of insight that never formed a whole. One night, Mason found a hidden detail. Each victim had visited the same charity gala 2 years ago. Rourke confirmed the date. The gala was held at the old cathedral, now decommissioned and used for art exhibits. "Crossroads," he muttered. Mason's eyes widened. "He's connecting the victims." He traced the lines on the map. "And he's leading us back to the beginning." Then came the letters, handwritten, sealed with red wax, delivered to the precinct's front desk. Each letter quoted ancient texts on sin and redemption. Augustine, Dante, Aquinas. Inside was a swatch of ribbon dyed to match the next sin. Mason read one aloud. "The road to redemption is paved with the bones of the guilty." Rourke's knuckles whitened around his coffee cup. He's playing God. They traced the paper's watermark to a boutique stationery shop downtown. The owner recalled a man purchasing custom letterhead, tall, mid-30s, precise in his manner. He'd asked for quotes on morality and the afterlife. They had a face. Alden Cross, once a promising chemist, then a failed novelist. He'd disappeared after his first book bombed, resurfacing as a philosophical blogger. His online musings twisted morality into rhetoric, preaching that sin was a canvas for art. Mason tracked him to a squat near the docks. They staked it out for nights, watching for movement. The squat was a maze of rusted containers and rotting crates. The rain returned, washing their footprints away. One evening, Mason spotted a figure slipping inside. She radioed Rourke. They moved in, hearts pounding. Inside was a shrine. Photos of victims arranged on a table, ribbons pinned around them, the latest letter on display. No cross. Rourke stared at the shrine. "He wants us here." Mason's voice trembled. "It's a trap." But the shrine held clues. Maps, flight logs, a torn page from Cross's journal. They gathered everything. The killer was still one step ahead, but they had hope. The taped message arrived in a plain box. A reel-to-reel tape recorder, dusty and worn. They played it in the interrogation room. Cross's voice echoed, 7 sins. 7 victims. 1 chance at redemption. Find me before the final hour. A timer appeared on the tape. 7 days until the next murder. Rourke and Mason divided tasks. She traced Cross's digital footprint. He grilled suspects linked to the gala. They worked around the clock. Day 3. A lead. Cross had purchased train tickets 2 weeks ago, departing from Central Station. They scoured CCTV footage, tracing a hooded figure. Day 5. They intercepted a package at the station. Another letter, more taunts. Inside, a note. "Meet me where sin began." Mason deciphered. The old cathedral. Rourke loaded his pistol. No more running. As they prepared for the final confrontation, Mason discovered something that shook her. Rourke had attended that same charity gala 2 years ago. He'd met Cross there when Cross was a minor sponsor. Rourke had left the event early, haunted by a failed rescue mission. He never told Mason. She confronted him in the parking garage. Neon lights reflected on the rain-slicked pavement. "Why didn't you say anything?" she demanded. Rourke's voice was low. "I failed then. I can't fail now." Mason's eyes filled with tears. "We're a team. Secrets cost lives." He closed the distance. "Then let's finish this, together." They shared a solemn nod, a bond reforged in truth. April 13th, the eve of the final sin. The city braced for the worst. News vans lined the streets. Crowds gathered outside the cathedral gates. Inside, candles flickered along the aisle. The air was thick with incense and anticipation. Mason and Rourke moved through shadows, sidearms drawn. Each step echoed in the cavernous hall. At the altar, the final victim knelt, bound, a violet ribbon tied around her wrists, wrath incarnate. Alden Cross stood behind her, a twisted smile on his lips. He wore a tailored suit and a mask of calm. "You see sin as a crime," he said, voice ringing. "But I see it as art. And you are my audience." Rourke stepped forward. "It ends now." Cross laughed. "Then paint with me." He lunged. Mason fired first. Her shot rang out, echoing against stained glass. Cross staggered, clutching his chest. The victim fell forward, the ribbon slipping from her wrists. Silence. Mason rushed to the victim. Rourke holstered his gun and approached Cross. He lay on the stone floor, eyes closed, a single tear of blood trailing down his cheek. Rourke knelt. "Why?" he whispered. Cross's lips curved in a final, sorrowful smile. "To show you the beauty in darkness." His eyes fluttered closed. The rain finally ceased at dawn. The city exhaled, a collective sigh of relief. Cross's body was claimed by the state. The victims laid to rest in ceremonies attended by grieving families and curious onlookers. Rourke and Mason stood on the cathedral steps as the first light broke through heavy clouds. The neon glow was gone, replaced by pale gold. Ribbons of mist curled at their feet. Mason broke the silence. "We did it." Rourke's gaze drifted to the empty streets. "Justice served," he said softly. "But at what cost?" Mason placed a hand on his shoulder. "We carry their stories now." He nodded. "And we'll keep carrying them, one ribbon at a time." They turned toward the rising sun, shadows receding behind them. The city had been tested, its sins exposed. But in the aftermath there was hope. A chance for redemption, a chance to rebuild.
If the story sent chills down your spine, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below. What do you think was the most chilling part of this case? Hit that like button, share it, and subscribe to our channel, True Crime Unknown, where every story hides a secret waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your secrets locked tight.